Well, here I am on in the village of Stanton, in the Cotswolds. Lovely old village, lovely, beautiful Cotswold stone. And this is the scene I want to capture. It's good composition, lovely dark tree on the right. I'm going to pull everything in a little so it's a little bigger. But basically, we're under a tree, and I think it should make an exceptionally good composition. So I'm going to video the painting, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is put the sky in, quite simply ultramarine blue, purely because there's very little sky in this subject. I'm going to actually put only a blue sky, a little bit of warmth here and there, perhaps in the lower part of the sky, but overall very light. Should show up the feeling of sunlight. Just let that completely spread through. Just going to put in a little bit of warmth, a little bit of rose madder into that, just to give, I don't know, just to give a little bit of warmth to the lower part and one or two taller parts of the sky, higher parts. It's only going to be a very loose, rough interpretation of the sky. It's not the main part of the building, the scene, the building that really counts. There you go, and that really is all you need to do. Or we'll put a little bit more blue in this distance area here. We've got a shape of the roof coming down there, so we'll put that through and bring that down. There's buildings there, but that will go in okay. Now I'm just going to put some basic colour down, just purely to give me a feeling of light.
Hi there.
Hello.
How are you? Fine, thank you.
Light red.
We just came on the Cotswold Road. And are you coming?
Very nice. Just putting on a little bit of yellow.
Okay. Is there any public house? Yeah. If you
just to give it a little bit of light to start with. Putting in that corner there and this corner here. Going to do what will eventually be sunlit sides, and it's quite a yellowy stone this, so just put a little bit of yellow in, just purely to get that feeling of that Cotswold stone. It's a nice orangey sort of stone.
Because we've gone 4 miles and we're deciding whether to go further.
And it's quite an interesting building, and really appealed to me. And this is the sunlit side, so and I'm using cobalt blue and intense and Naples yellow, with a touch of light red in there. There we go. So I do really feel that it's quite an interesting way of painting. Put a bit of yellow with that too, because these stones do have a little bit of yellow in there, which is always interesting to put in the sunlit areas. As you can see, I'm just feeding in the shadow, the colours, just to purely get basic outlines of where the buildings will come. All you really need, nice yellowy stone. This one here is quite yellow, but because these old buildings are they've got quite a lot of character, no real need to get too detailed, really. Right, there's also that wall. That's a Cotswold stone wall. We do have buildings in the distance. We'll put those in shortly. Yes, the same colour as used for the fronts of those buildings there. Lovely old buildings these. Love painting them. This is a really lovely village, sort of village that you could spend hours painting in. And for those of you that are interested in Cotswold subjects, it really is the sort of subject that really should appeal to you. Okay, so that's the basic buildings. Going to put the roofing in shortly, but let's get the sort of like bluey sort of. I'm going to use a bit of light red, a little bit of ultramarine, just to get in this. There again, fairly warm. Just blend that away a touch in the distance. Fairly warm path area. Put a bit of blue with it because it's nice to have a cooler contrast as we go into the foreground, and then all of a sudden I'm going to start adding more red just to give it a sense of depth. There we go. It's quite as simple as that, really. A bit more light red in the foreground, help complement the stone. Good, that's that. Now I'm going to do the roof work. Now the roof work is that sort of very weathered flagstones, really, and that is achieved with Naples yellow, light red and cobalt blue. Now you need more light red and more cobalt blue with a little Naples yellow to achieve that nice sort of flagstone effect. And I'm painting this on very, very quickly, vital that you don't waste time doing lots of fiddly things with the brush. It does take a lot of practice to achieve these sort of effects, but I honestly believe that it's the best way to paint. And I'm painting them all the same. Let's give that one a tad more blue perhaps, just to vary it, slightly more weathered perhaps. And once you get that in, you're getting there. You know, I mean, to think about it, there's not a great deal, a little bit more blue and red in that, just to give it slightly less intense feel. All done with an 1¼ inch flat brush. Oh, there's another. Just keep an eye out where the roof work is. And one more. Now this may have even a touch more blue in there, because this one's a little distant. So I'm depicting this as the sun is coming from the left across to the right hand side. That one's a little darker. That's the way it's worked out. It doesn't really matter. It's not directly in sunlight, so that's really of a benefit, to be quite honest with you. Oh well, that finishes nicely down there. You can see the difference between one roof and the other, which is what we're looking for. And that really is all you need to do. Put a bit in the back down there for the corner of that roof. Oh, and this one will need even more blue in, because that's way behind. So we add more blue if we're looking to put the distant areas in, whether it be buildings, whatever it is. That's the way we do that. Okay, right, that's pretty successful, I think. And that is all you do for the first part of this scene. Simple washes just to get the painting up. Okay, the next area will be all this greenery business here. So it's a combination of cadmium yellow, winter blue, Prussian blue, and one other thing, the lovely burnt sienna. Now we'll treat these very, very simply. So hold the brush on the side and just try and pick up the light areas first, the real sort of golden light areas. So it's more yellow and brown and burnt sienna in there to start with. A dark one there of overhangs around that window. But then as we move down, I add more blue, more brown, and we get a bit more of a darker feel to those areas. But really, it's got to be treated very, very simply. And then we clean the brush, we put in some yellows, just to give it a bit of light, a bit of brown, just to pick up the sunlight that's actually onto some of that greenery. And then we go in brown and blue, creating a dark. There is one really dark tree there, or bush, and that overhangs nicely into that and tucks back there. Always nice to have darks and lights. It's my trademark when it comes to these sort of areas. More blue, it's less intense now, just to can all be sharpened up at a later date, but at this stage, and then a little more yellow just around these doors. That's where you get some little touches of greenery there, and there's a little more in the distance here too, but this mustn't be shown too strongly. It's got to be quite blue, like that, down the chimney breast. And while I'm there, I may as well just pick up some distant buildings. There's a building that comes down there like that. That's part of that other building that runs into that. Not too concerned about this area here. It really is an area of distance. We've put a chimney in just to make it interesting, but got an overhang of greenery there, so there we go. So that's a distance building put in. Just a little bit more Cotswold stone to go in along the edging, these lovely stones that stand up. Just use the side of the brush, drag down on the paper, using plenty of white paper here and there to give us that feel. And let's do that path, put that in. Good, okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to go around the windows. Now, a lot of these windows have lovely orangey yellow surrounds, and that's what I'm trying to pick up with yellow and light red. Lovely old Cotswold stone colours. There we go. A little bit weaker than that perhaps. A little bit too strong with this. And that's the window frame. Mullanded window frames. Like that with the it all shows up far better once you put in the dark glazed areas. But initially, yes, that one's the same there. Got a bit of the inside of that one, another one there. Anything just to show the windows up. It really is a very interesting thing to do. That one's the same. Down one side, down the left, across the top. That all works very, very well. Show some brickwork, stonework on that one. It's all going to be in shadow shortly anyway. That's good. So that's pretty much all we need to do for that. Now it's the windows. Quite simply, I'm going to use a flat brush for this. And for the windows, basically they're quite dark. So I'm going to use, I'm actually going to use Indian red and cobalt blue. What do we get with that? Not strong enough. Ultramarine blue. There you go. That's a nice strong colour. And all you need to do for that, there's white frames here, so we put in the uprights of the dark windows. One there. One there, and another one there. So all we're doing is just putting in basic impression really of the glazed areas, and these perhaps would have a bit more blue in them, a bit more light catching those, a little bit too dry that, like to see a bit more colour in that. There we go. There you go. That's worked quite well. Okay. So that's that. Now the doors. Let's get the doors in. I've got some greeny grey. So add a bit more blue and red to a green, and you end up with a greeny grey. This building here, that doesn't have the traditional surrounds. That has something a little more, I'm not showing that very well, but that'll work. Underside there, supports, and door comes in there. This is the same colour, so we'll do undersides there, supports, door frame, and the door's the same. It's got a glazed area, that's interesting. And the other one is white, but with burnt umber. You can take a picture of me painting me. Railway line somewhere. Okay. Let's just put that across there. It's more or less a wood surround on this, which is quite unusual, but some of these old places are. Good. Now I'm going to use rigger purely to put in a little bit of detail. Guttering, which is quite important. The gutters go in very, very fairly dark, Some of them are of a different colour, but I'm going to put them all in black. We've got this lovely old lantern there, which I'm putting in. Just simply there again, nothing too fussy. Putting in the lovely old gutter across there. There you go. That would have gutter work with its supports. Finishes there. We also have gutter here, which tucks around the corner like that, and then we tend to need, I'm going to put black guttering on this as well. Yes, there is guttering under there and guttering under there, which goes off to there.
Okay. Another lady, she wasn't sure about that.
We've got a downpipe in the background there. And that's pretty much that, I think. Quite interesting. There's some bordered really. But a bit of boarding across the front there. It's always nice to have a bit of boarding on that porch area. That one's the same actually. And so is that one. So I just noticed that. Okay. Now we're just going to pop in the figures. And we had a little bit of colour for our figures. Something a little more cadmium red. It's always nice to have a bit of cadmium red for the figures.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. And we're going to have sort of blue.
Thank you, though.
Ultramarine blue for the dress, if you like, and then burnt sienna for the flesh colours. And then the small figure is blue, cobalt blue, which is always useful. And hair dark brown this time. Yep. And the dog, black. So all we need now is colour for the shadow. Okay, now I'm going to put in any overhanging leaf work. The overhanging leaf work this side because the sun is onto that, and that will be sunlit. So that, let's start off with sunlit green to start with. It's always nice, and this one is very close. Let's add a little bit more yellow to that, just to make certain that we get the turn of light over there.
Oh, lovely.
Just the view of the street there.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it was a bit of work to do, but basically just a matter of getting in the impression really of,
Yeah.
of the whole thing, you know.
And what are you going to do when it's finished?
Turn over and do something on the other side probably. Yeah, I do sell
I like the way
online.
you've done the bushes. I love all the colours of the bushes.
Yes,
That's
a little
really
bit,
nicely done.
A bit of colour.
just a little bit of work to be done, but nothing too great. And that side will be much darker,
Yeah.
purely because it's in shade. I'm depicting this with the sun coming the other way.
Yeah.
So earlier this morning, so this would be considerably darker.
Eric, come here.
That comes across the chimney like that.
See, if I did it, that would just look like I've just splodged on the
Well,
painting.
that's all it is, splodges.
But you make it look really good. Because I mean, that you can see those are leaves. If I did that, it would just look like I've splodged.
Really lovely.
Well,
It really would.
you'd be surprised.
You just have to try it, really, don't you?
You really have to go for it, I'm afraid. You know, because if you don't, then you never quite achieve what you're looking to do. Really, you know, it's just a matter of trial and error. You know, and more error.
The colours there are beautiful.
Yeah, I've tried to incorporate the building colours in,
that's
but
really
all
lovely.
it needs now is shadows.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's going to bring it.
Yeah.
You know, until you get shadows in, it's very, very, very flat. You know.
Yeah.
Got to leave one or two gaps
Yeah.
for the don't go right the way over there, and that's very dense at where it's all leafing. But as it breaks away, you gradually get.
It makes me want to get and try.
You should come to our class.
Where do you live?
Oh, I go to an art class in Bishampton.
Oh, right.
He's probably too good for an art class.
No, he is too good. He'd be coming and teaching.
Well, I do actually. I've been teaching for years.
Yeah, but it's you know, the art class is just somewhere you can just go and have a safe try, and no one's critical, and we just
That is lovely. I love the way you've done that.
we do lots of different things. We do felting. We
You've like built up the colours.
liner.
So you've got variation of colour, you know.
Embroidery.
You can soon overdo it, you know.
Yeah.
The times I've really overdone everything is.
And then what do you do?
You learn from it.
You can't paint over it. You can't paint over it.
These are one-off pictures. They either work or they don't really, you know.
Oh, look, an old fairy liquid bottle.
Yes, look at that. Look. I've had that some years. Yeah, I write for leisure painter.
Oh, do you?
Yes, I'm a writer for leisure painter.
Oh, wow.
So, okay, just putting the shadows in now. Light red, cobalt blue, those sort of colours. So I've decided to have a warm colour, very warm colours for the shadows. I think that probably will work quite well for this particular passage. And it's more or less picking up the shape of the building. Light's coming from the left, so we need to get in these lovely shadows. Try and vary the shadows, because if you don't, then you end up with quite a let's put a bit more yellow in that one. It's vital that you get enough yellow in the mix because of this Cotswold stone. And tidy up everything later on. And we'll be on there, and this time I'm adding a bit of light red because I want the red to show as well. It's all about warmth in this one, and if you can get the warmth to come through, then it's all very loose, very impressionist, if you like. A bit more blue going in now, just for the overhang of the roof, down the left-hand side of the windows. Right, this one tucks back. It's a rather unusual sort of roof line. it will tuck back, a little bit in there, a little bit in there, a little bit tucking back there. Always nice to have strong shadows on your roof lines. One there, one there. That would then come underneath. Sort that out when we do the other shadows. Across the top, a bit more blue in there now. Down the left hand side, across the top of the rooms, down the left hand side. There we go. A bit more point to those. I like to see them stand up. That's it. A bit more down this. A bit more blue now. I'm going back. So there's plenty of blue in the mix to get the distant shadows. All helps to give a lovely feeling of depth, distance. Nearly there now before I take it home and put in those finishing touches, really, which can all be done at home later on. Let's put that painted in. Chimney breast put in there. That's put in. And that really just about seals it. Do have a lot more to do, but I'll finish this one off when I get back to the accommodation. Okay, well, I'm back here at the my accommodation, my cottage on the farm. You saw pretty much most of this being produced. Now I'm just going to pull it together, really. Sort of thing I do quite a lot. Main initial colours on site, and bring it back, and as the sun begins to go down, have another look at it and see what we can finish off. Okay, now I'm going to use Indian red, lemon yellow and cobalt blue to get the Cotswold stone feel of the roof. They are the three main colours for this. I just want to darken off one or two roof areas, in particular that one there. It does have a little bit more depth in colour, and just paint the way the roof actually runs down. There we go, that one has that little depth of colour. That was a little bit on the weak side. Okay, good, that's looking quite good. Next comes some finer detail. Oh, and of course that roof probably, I don't know, maybe leave that tone. Okay, there are some other areas now of shadows that will need some attention. So I'm going to take a smaller brush, just tightening these shadows up, creating a little bit more yellow now, just a bit more red. Try and get that more honey stone sort of look to the. And I'm just going to do that area there, and just the undersides of that. What have we got? Chimney pot on there, something going on there. Sunlit side, that's the sunlit side, but let's just put a little colour to that. That's the underside of that. We're just really looking to add Cotswold stone colour to certain areas that we think will benefit from this particular application. Particularly there, so it's nice and richly. Windows that are in shadow, reveals that are in shadow, reveals there. Just give them across the roof. And that's them across there. Just giving one or two little touches here and there. You only go deeper with the shadow. It's cobalt blue and Indian red. Now these are for the much deeper shadows that are there, but yet to be put in. It's like a secondary shadow, which is quite often seen in these sort of subjects. Down those gable ends, or in particularly there, and down the back edge there, just on the underside of that. This chimney was in stronger colour than I'll give it, so let's put a little bit, oh there we go, that's what I want to do, like that, just to get that additional sort of touch of shadow in places across there, and coming back on that edge, and that part of the roof is probably darker because it lays behind that chimney. Okay, so that's more or less sorted that out. It's all a matter of an impressionist sort of feel. That's good, that's coming along nicely. Okay, something just a little bit stronger under the gutter there. Something a little bit stronger for these windows, just to give them an additional depth. Quite often we see that in window areas, just that little bit of an additional strength of colour, just to show up or under the sill. That's already in, so that's not a problem. There we go, just touching in one or two little areas. I do like this process because it does mean that we're getting towards the end of the, we're going to put in some additional detail, and along the top of the wall there we will see some indications of stonework. We don't do too much of this, but it just helps to indicate that that is a form of stonework. So just rub that out, there you go. It's just a good indication of what we're trying to depict really. There we go, that's looking good. That's pretty much there. Just going to put a figure in, just thought I'd like to put a figure in, looking down. Let's try yellow for this. Because the two figures are stationary, so we need someone looking down at the dog, which is something that I think we should put in, because if we don't, there we go, and we just put a head on our figure. I think we should put a head on our figure. Does make sense, not too big. There you go. Someone just bending down, having a look at the figure, at the dog. And let's, while we're here, let's put a bit of shadow under those figures, because it does help an awful lot to get the figure sitting on the ground. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so that's, I'm now going to use a large brush to put in the shadow, and that is ultramarine and Indian red from the tree on the left. Sun's coming from the left, so we start off with more blue, so we go down that wall always important to have a wall in there that's in shadow. There you go. That just finishes that off. Add a bit more colour to that. Ultramarine's a bit stronger than cobalt, so let's add a bit of warmth to that. There you go. That's better. That's a stronger feeling of shadow. Good. A bit more blue to start with. Not too strong initially. Comes across the path and down and runs away behind the wall. Comes across that path. Path can be picked up again at a later date. Nice cool shadow at this stage, so a little more blue in the mix. Leave some areas, maybe a tree that's casting a little bit of shadow in there. And I'm just going to wipe a bit of soft shadow across this side, just to give the road a bit of texture. Then all of a sudden I'm going in with red to bring that shadow forward. A little bit down this bottom corner. Nice to have a bit of glint of light into that. And that brings the whole picture to life. Let's even go one tone darker with that, because I'm always accused of making my shadows too dark, but let's see what we can do. Additional shadows within there, and perhaps a little bit wary. That's it, where the path comes around. Oh, that's still damp. Pull that in. Good. Now I'm going to put a wash of this shadow colour into the shadows that I've already painted, because this will give a cool feel to some parts that I need that cooler feel, along the front there, along there, that area there, just to give that extra sort of strength to the shadows before I put in the final details. Unless you go this sort of strength, then you don't really achieve the end result, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Good. Now there will be some of this strong shadow, quite blue at this stage, on the underside and overhang of that bush, and of course that bush is casting a shadow across the wall there, and it's quite broken, the outside edge of that, and along the bottom and of course down the wall there, that would also take shadow. There may be a dark area there, so really we're casting shadows excuse me, on the wall from the overhanging tree work. And along the bottom, that's where we'd also have lots of nice shadow. The bottoms of those, may put a little bit of light on those shortly, and another area there that may take, and notice how I'm using to get that glint of light onto some, not all. I'm going to be careful I don't overdo this, and there will be a bit of shadow underneath. There we go. So that's brought that area of greenery to life, and now I've just got to use this mix to go inside my door to match up with the shadow that I'll cast on there. Same there, just to match up with the shadow that I've cast for that pointed roof line, and there, inside the door, and down the left hand sides of those doors, and all of a sudden they sit back, which is always a nice thing to see. Down the underside there is where that porch area, and there's another area there where shadow would appear. Across the left, across the top of those windows, give them a fairly recession. The figures may have a bit of shadow on the backs of them. Just a little bit of shadow there, just to give a sense of movement of some sort. Okay, we'll allow that. Okay, finally I need to just touch in areas that need just finishing off. So within the shadow work there, just a hint at some brickwork along, so we can define where the wall finishes. We do have the old path there, paving stones, just anything like that, just indicates a path. There is some things going on around these green areas, may put a bit of colour in those shortly, and also the edge of the path here, may even put a dark area just to hold, just like a little shrub or something, just standing on the edge there. Just help to sharpen that corner up, just sharpen that window up a touch, and under the sill, under the guttering there, always nice to have a bit of dark area. It's these very dark areas that really pack a punch. And it's holding back and knowing when to put them in. That's the key. There is woodwork there, so I may as well indicate that with some simple work inside of the mullen windows, bit of shadow work, and of course this has struts that gives it a strength to support the door. We don't want to depict that too precisely, but we will put something in because it's vital that we show up an indication of that. Getting there. Right, a little bit in the roof work now. Burnt umber, Indian red, ultramarine, just to give a dark brown. And this will show up the gutter again. Let's pull that back because it didn't really quite. I think that had a downpipe there. Really sharpens everything up, really gives it the punch that we require these sorts of subjects. Not too much in the distance, but along the edge there will be an indication of tiles, you know, where you get the rough tile work. It's always useful to do that. Just sharpen up. You just see the odd shadow where tiles a little bit along the gables, the ridge tile. Always nice to produce that sort of indication of, don't overdo this. Just one or two lines here and there. Oh, that's in shadow, so let's just use that shadow there. There we go. That's in shadow. Well, nice bit of strong shadow there. That's good. Along the overhang there, just to give, it's what I'd call just a bit of lining, just to show up sort of where some dark areas are, right at the top of the gable, and there again along there where the chimney meets, you know, just to redefine areas, and of course there, just where the tile work runs down the gable end. Always a useful sort of thing to add. And a little bit of where, you know, anything that's not clearly defined, I find is very useful. This technique, just to clearly define areas, perhaps stonework on the top there, stonework. You know, it's all a matter of impression, but if you get it right, it does enhance the picture no end. But there is just another shadow there, just a secondary shadow from that lip. And there's a secondary shadow there too, from the stand of that, and that's a wider shadow onto that, just to show. That's the ridge tile. This is the edge of the tiles. Just a quick indication here and there, just one or two. Got to be careful with this, because if you do too much, then unfortunately you think, oh God, I've overdone it now, and that's one thing that keeps us apart from, keeps the better artists that just understand when to stop. But I do like to add a sense of additional detail because it does help to sharpen the whole picture up. And it's pretty much there, I think. One or two additions along the bottom edge there, here and there. Yeah. And just some yellow or reddy orange, so it's light red with cobalt blue and cadmium yellow, to try and get that fresh look. A little bit weaker than that. Just want to show up the indication of stones, that lovely Cotswold stone effect that, there we go, and that just gives it that yellowing that we quite often get, we very often get from Cotswold stone. It's that yellow honey sort of feel. Just takes the plainness off the wall a bit. Will give us indication that we have something a bit more akin to Cotswold stone. And on the roof area, a bit duller than that. So we need a secondary colour just to indicate that Cotswold stone effect there. A little weaker now as we come into these areas. I don't want these to be too strong with that effect. It's always very nice to pull in a little bit of texture to that. There we go. And then the real final dark blues. And the dark blue is Prussian and it's green really, and Prussian blue and burnt umber. And this is where we get these lovely strong film of light. Not everywhere, but just go. Look at that. Look how dark that is. Really brings the whole picture to into life. Not doing it everywhere, just give an indication here and there. We've got some overhanging I like to show that chimney. It's really dark at the top. A little bit lighter in the lower area, perhaps where it's got a bit of reflected light. But basically, that's the way I saw that lovely Cotswold scene today at Stanton. Lovely little village. Really enjoyed the day there, and I think you'll agree that we can really achieve some lovely effects by trying to capture light within a painting, because that really is the key to it. You know, a little bit darker this side in places, the undersides of just to give that a bit more strength. But yeah, it's all about capturing light really. It's not about capturing objects. It's not about capturing anything else. And a bit more coming down there too. And of course, within the greens, just need to pack a punch with that now. But other than that, it's pretty much, look at that, look. See when you put that really dark colour on, it shows up that yellow. It's always nice to use these really dark colours to give your foliage a bit of strength. And see how I'm just trying to capture a little bit of light. See those lovely bright colours, plenty of undergrowth. Just going to put a little bit of colour. I haven't got colour in this part of the picture, so I'm just putting a little bit of colour into these areas. There was some flowers and bits and pieces on top of that there. There we go. That all adds to the feeling of texture, and just add a bit more red now to that figure. Not the idea of a red figure. Yeah. Good, look at that. Brought that figure to life. A bit more blue now. all that's left now is for me to take a small brush and to put my name to yet another painting that I really enjoyed painting. It's one of those scenes that really did work, and let's just see if I can sign it here. I need to get the point of the brush, don't want too big a signature. It's just nice to okay. Always nice to sign your work. I recommend that everyone signs their work at all manner of stages in their progression. Just putting a little bit of that colour down there. I want those buildings to sit on the ground. I want them to be floating in mid-air. That's it. There you go. There is a path along there, I believe. But well, there's the finished painting. I've taken off the surround, and you can see it in more or less framed in that white surround that I normally do. I think it's come off pretty much good, and thoroughly enjoyed it. That's Stanton in the Cotswolds, and stay tuned to my channel, and I'll be painting more plein air pictures in the future. Well, there's the finished painting. I've taken off the surround, and you can see it in more or less framed in that white surround that I normally do. I think it's come off pretty much good, and thoroughly enjoyed it. That's Stanton in the Cotswolds, and stay tuned to my channel, and I'll be painting more plein air pictures in the future.